So in today's session, I want us to talk about project setup in Revit, and we shall also look at the basics of Revit as you just opening a new file. So when you open your Revit software for the first time users, this is what you're going to see, and it is somewhat different depending on the version you're using. So for my case, I'm using Revit 2025, and this is how it looks like. So if you're just creating a new file, you go to new, and if you're opening an already worked on file, you go to open. So let us go to new. When you click on new, you will have to select or choose a template that you want to work with, depending on the output or what is required. Yes, so if it is an architecture project, you might end up selecting construction template or architecture template. If you're working on structural drawings, you might end up selecting a structure template. If they are mechanical, you might select a mechanical template. However, if the template you're looking for are not here, you're going to go to browse. You click on browse, and here a list of templates that you can select from. When you select one of these, it will be added onto the default list up there, the one that we were seeing. For example, if I select a default metric and click open, it will be added onto this default list here. So that's how it works. So for our case, let us select architecture template and make sure create new. You've selected project, so you click OK. If that is the template you want to work with, you click OK, and there you are. That's how your screen will look like. Normally there are these elevation markers that show you the starting point. At times you might see the properties ribbon on your left, and project browser ribbon on your right, then the taskbar up here, and the status bar below. Maybe what I would advise is that you might open a file, or a colleague might use your computer and bring it back when some of these ribbons are not there. So how do you get them back? To get these ribbons back, you're going to go to a view on your taskbar up here. Then on your top right, you go to user interface. So below here, you're going to see where you can either turn on or off the ribbons that you want to work with. Maybe let me try turning off some of the visible ribbons here, like the properties ribbon and a project browser. So if I turn off the project browser on the right, it will disappear. If I turn off the properties ribbon on the left, it will disappear. So if at all you open a project when those ribbons are not visible, this is how you bring them back. You go to view, manage, and bring them back like that. Then at times you might find that the icons on the taskbar are not visible. Normally they are turned off from here. So if you find that they are not visible, this is how you turn them on. So this is how you turn them on, right? I hope all that is clear on the ribbons. Then the other thing that you have to set before you start any project are the units. Purpose being that it will be very hard for you to know or you might end up putting wrong units as you're drafting or modeling. You see, when you're modeling, there are units that are indicated there on the default dimensions or temporary dimensions. So if at all you don't know the units you're working in, you might end up producing an inaccurate drawing. So it is better if you set your project units. So there are two methods of knowing the units that you're working in. There are two methods of knowing the units that you're working in. So the first method is you're going to type UN on your keyboard. So if my keyboard doesn't work, there is another way of finding the units. You're going to go to manage, then you go to project units on your taskbar. When you click on project units, this is what you're going to see. So in here you're going to see the different units, then the formats, and our most concentration should be on the length, on the distance, on the angle area. Yes, length, distance, angle, area. So those are the units that you could maybe change. So if you want to change this, you click under the format column. You're going to click on the unit, on the unit format. So assuming I want to change length, I'll click on that unit format. Then another dialog box will come. In here, that's where I can change the units I want to work with. So when you click on this drop down arrow, there is a number of units that you can select from. So I would prefer millimeters. Then the rounding, normally those are the digits after the accurate unit. Those are the digits after the accurate units. So normally if you have maybe 2 meters, it will be 2000.000. So if you select 100, there will be 2 zeros after the point. If you select to the nearest 1,000, there will be 3 zeros after the digit. Select this, it will be 1 0. So you can either select 0 decimal, or you can go to custom, 0 decimal or custom. A custom, you can put in any unit that you want. Then you click OK when you're done. It is saying invalid input. Let's maintain this. Click OK. Then distance, let's also keep it in millimeters. You select still this, click OK. Then angle, we leave it in degrees. Area, we leave it in meters squared. Click OK. So in that case, you're able to know the units you're working with. You're able to know the units you're working with. Maybe the other thing I can talk about, under units, we work differently in this software. So there are people who prefer working in meters, yet the required output is millimeters. So how do you go about that? So you're going to still go to manage project units. So in this dialog box, you're going to input meters. The length, you're going to input meters, right? If you prefer working in meters, but the output, you're required to have it in millimeters. So in this dialog box under project units, you put it meters, you click OK. Then you'll input a single dimension line. Let us see where we shall input the dimension line. We shall input a dimension. It is here. You edit. Yes. So if at all you're required to have your units in millimeters, you're going to select this. You go to edit. Under here you're going to go to primary units. Normally the default is meters, but we are going to change it back to first turn off this. We change it back to millimeters. We click OK, apply, OK. So our units are going to be in millimeters, but then as you're working, assuming I want to drag this, as I'm dragging, I can input in maybe millimeters. I see that. So as I'm dragging this, I can input. So let me drag this. I can input maybe 5 meters. Enter. So in your workspace, you work in meters, but the requirement here is millimeters. So that's how you go about that. Then the other important thing, I don't know whether you've noticed it, we have what we call the snap tools. And those normally help us when either in the drafting mode, when you're in the drafting mode. So to turn on and off the snaps, you're going to go to manage. Then on your top right, you see a magnet, U-shaped magnet with the word snaps. So when you click on that, you're able to see the different snaps that you can use in your drafting mode. Normally the snaps are like guidelines. They are like guidelines. They ease work as you're working. They make it easier in your workspace. So we have what we call the object snaps. So these object snaps, we have the endpoints, we have the midpoint, we have the nearest, we have the work plane grid, we have the quadrants, intersections, centers, perpendicular, tangents, points. So all these have to be on as you're working. Maybe to illustrate, assuming I want to draw a wall. You see, when I put my cursor in the center of the existing wall, it will put an X showing that is the nearest point. If I drag this cursor in the center of the wall, it will show that that is the midpoint. So if I want to draw, I'll just click and draw. If I put my cursor at the extreme end of a wall, it will put a box. So those are snaps. If you turn them off, it will be very hard. Assuming you want to draw the center, in the center of this wall here, it will be very hard to draw in the center of this wall if those snaps are not there. So that is one other major thing that you need to do when you're just getting started in Revit. Then the other thing that you need to do is what we call the user interface settings. Hope you've seen some people having a black background, then some have a white background. So how to go about that? We go to user interface. And how do we get to the user interface dialog box? You're going to click on click on this file, click on file, go to options. So under options, you're going to see journal. So in the journal, that's where we set the time save reminder interval. Hope you all know that Revit doesn't do backups unless you save a file. So you have to set it here. Normally the lowest time that you can save is 15 minutes, and I recommend all of you to set your save reminder interval at 15 minutes, so that whenever you're working, the machine can remind you to save your work. Then The other thing is the user interface. The user interface is where you select the tabs that you want to see on your taskbar. So assuming it is a structural project, you can turn on the structural elements here. If you don't need them, you turn them off. You turn them off, you leave architecture on. You can turn off all these here if you feel like they are not relevant in your work. So you can turn off all this if you think they are not relevant. So only architectural tabs will be displayed here, and all structural mechanical will be hidden. So that's how you go about that. Then the other thing, you have seen journal where there is time. You have seen user interface where there are toolbars in the taskbar. Then we go to color. Color, that's where you select the background. You see a background. If you want it black, you choose it from here. Choose it from there. You see those? Click OK. So that's how your screen will look like. So if you want a dark screen, you come to color. Here UI active theme, you can put it to dark for the toolbars, for the ribbons. Then background, you can also turn it to black. Okay. Assuming you want to navigate the thing, you have to go to view here, go to 3D, we see. Assuming you want to navigate it in 3D. So how to orbit, we have many ways of navigation. We have orbit, we have pan, we have zoom. So for the zoom, you can use the wheel button. You roll in and out. That is the zoom. So to orbit, you're going to long press your shift and your right button on the mouse. So that's how you orbit. That's how you orbit. Or you can do it here. Just that here it is very tricky. Here it is very tricky, but you can do it there. Yes. Then the other thing, to zoom in and out, still you can press you can press Ctrl and to zoom in and out, you press Ctrl. You don't press your Control button, and don't press your wheel button. So do it like that. So that's how we navigate in Revit. Thank you for watching. In case you need more videos, stay tuned on the channel. I'll be posting more relevant videos, mostly for beginner level, and since when we are done with the beginner level, we shall advance to more professional levels. Thank you.